It's been a grim day for the community of Mount Isa after 3 people lost their lives in a tragic accident. Emergency services received the call at 7 a.m. that a caravan had exploded in Dighton Street near the centre of town. Residents say they could feel and hear the blast and say it was noticeably different to the usual mining explosions which occur early in the morning.
A bit shaken up and still shocked by the situation, and hope everyone's fine.
The explosion seriously damaged nearby homes and a fire was burning when crews arrived on scene. Residents were evacuated from the area, but a 39-year-old man and 2 children aged 4 and 7 were unaccounted for. Charlie, River and Niobe, 3 lives cut devastatingly short. Mother Kath is receiving support after the tragedy which shook Mount Isa early yesterday morning.
I think at the moment that's all we can do, is just be around her.
Of 55 households which were evacuated after the blast yesterday, this morning 19 were yet to return home. Townsville police arrived on scene early to begin investigations, with more police flying in from Brisbane. Police have spoken to Kath already. It's understood she was nearby, but shielded from the blast. Her loved ones, however, perished.
Doing it tough at coping, and we're all coming together as a family.
Forensic and homicide detectives will now carefully gather evidence which will hopefully help them determine whether it was all a tragic accident or a murder-suicide. It's believed the boat's owner, a man known as Manny, was on board at the time. Friends say earlier in the evening he was dropped home after a boxing event in Arcadia. Jeff Byers attempted to save his neighbour but was thrown backwards by an explosion.
Nothing else to tell. I tried, that was it. And I'm alive.
Locals say they were woken by loud explosions coming from the boat and rushed outside to see huge flames visible for hundreds of metres. Callum Fisher and his family live closest to the scene. He filmed this video as his family looked on in shock.
You could feel the heat from the balcony. It wasn't too hot, but you could definitely feel it.
Just a moment ago, there was a massive explosion that resulted in a fireball that shot across the tree lines. There's been multiple other bangs in this area, and police have blocked off the road to traffic.
One of them went off there like that, and the ground shook. And there's another one.
Authorities say the fire began near the Stewart dump around midday before jumping 2 roads plus the Bruce and Flinders highways. Winds up to 40 kilometres per hour also pushed flames close to Townsville Prison. He was the mystery tradie who rushed into a burning home and rescued a teenager with a physical disability. But if you ask Stephen Morris, he was simply doing what he hopes anyone else would do.
I'd like to think that if my son was in there, someone would have done it for me.
Stephen was working at a nearby home when the owner alerted him to smoke up the hill. He rushed up a set of stairs, cutting through the scrub, then into the house.
I was yelling out inside and took a deep breath and felt how toxic and overwhelming that the fumes were.
Stephen had come out for air when the homeowner arrived. He believes if it wasn't for her, he would not have found her son. It's been 2 years since the ex-soldier was charged with dragging a police officer down Flinders Street using his car. Today, Joshua James Shooter farewelled his partner and friends after being sentenced to 4.5 years jail. Shooter then evaded police for 20 minutes through North Ward, stopping to let out passengers and turning off his headlights. He came to a stop after striking a roundabout and becoming airborne, winding up on the wrong side of the road. Kicking off his first Townsville tour at Laverack Barracks, the PM generously praised troops.
What you're doing here is showing the kind of agility and innovation that the most successful companies in the private sector do as well.
One thing Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull did not bring on his first Townsville tour was the Commonwealth chequebook. And when it comes to infrastructure projects like the Super Stadium or a new dam at Hell's Gate, he's urging the city to be patient. It's 97 hectares of potential that government leaders hope will be developed into a world-class precinct for residents to live, work and play. Part of the vision for the waterfront precinct is to have footbridges across the Ross Creek, as well as a 5.9-kilometre promenade that would eventually connect to the Strand as well as Pallaranda. Many soldiers from 2 RAR have never been to sea before. It'll be a challenge for the Navy too, as each force learns how each other operate. By the end of the year, the HMAS Canberra will begin operations before further building amphibious force capabilities. The Crocs fought back with steely resolve. 2 quick threes from Steindl gave the fans hope, but the gap couldn't be closed.
The prayer from Jordan!
And if this reception is anything to go by, in the eyes of North Queensland, the Cowboys are now bigger than Ben-Hur. If you thought the crowd at the airport was big, the crowd at 1300 Smiles Stadium was even bigger, with more than 10,000 people flocking through the gates to welcome the boys home.